Yo, I swear it was like around the times when things were going well, when we had to pack guns and then Asher went jail, and then a couple months down the line, me and Morgs thinking about my nigga doing mad time and his mums. Then I hugged her, I don't know how it came around like this. Then she looked and said, look after the album, Swiss, and make sure that you learn something out of this. And the thought of it makes you wanna, that's her only son, take away your boy from his mother, that's a lonely mum. Protect yourself with a loaded gun, just one of the rules, and Asher weren't the only one. So, for the fact that it's nothing fun when the nigga's trying to put 6 in your gut and run. I don't wanna be another bum, there's another million niggas like me in another slum. But look at what the summer done, couple shootouts, niggas dead over something dumb. A light-skinned Simon for Surrey Lane fell down the trap, body got severed by the train. Come on dog, I ain't forgetting Wayne died 97, but I still see him in my brain. All the pain and the memories, niggas in cemeteries. We lost father, I pour a little Hennessy, man, and we bring back them if we can. I shed tears from my eyes with the pen in my hand. I'm just trying to stay alive, can't tell if I can. And these niggas wanna put a shell in my man, damn. Yeah, sometimes I just wanna cry, I don't wanna live. Yeah, sometimes I just wanna die. But what am I? Can't act like I'm not alive. Got a whole family to look after, so I gotta try and not. Even though granny's in the last years, gotta stay strong. Fuck hanging at the glass stairs, time's moving fast, I don't wanna be the last hair. Hanging around my house, sitting in the armchair like does the Lord half care? They're just eating bread while everybody starves there. Look what happened to the motherland, they don't wanna treat blacks the same as another man. And just cause our skin's different colour and I don't change colour, but they called me a coloured man. There's only so much you can take in when your head's nappy with the shade of a slave skin. The ghetto spent most of my days in. I ain't in prison, but I feel like I'm caged in. And I don't even need a chorus, it's the type of number that I dedicate to Stephen Lawrence. And it's gutted down here, everybody's broke, we just need money down here, yeah. No, we don't wanna work for them, cause we wouldn't be broke here if it weren't for them. No, yeah, there's a lot of work to begin here, but first I gotta start most of my work within Pierre. Cause right now I'm an addict for weed, it's so deep I don't even know what happened to me. I gave my life to the streets for the masses to see. My family didn't like it when I hang around with G. My brother went jail, I was trying to bang out a key. Ran out of weed and even fell flat on my knees. Got off my face and fell right back on my knees. One of my friends offered crack to me, could you believe? That could have been my downfall, but I didn't agree. If I could get most of these people just to listen to me. Don't let the streets get the best of you, take it from P. They don't want us making money, so the odds of us getting out the ghettos like none out of free. Release me from these mental chains now, I just wanna be free. I just, inside every time that I hear another's died, I just act like I don't even care, for real. Cause I don't wanna kill my own, but if niggas come for me, I ain't tryna be alone, blow. Whatever will happens, it gets done, and it's gonna take more than the mothers against guns. Cause last year they said they was gonna direct funds. When it comes down to it, the government gets dumb on us. They were supposed to give a few mil. Last time I heard something, they ain't done it yet still. They should put a ban on every gun that's real. They're looking for murderers and they're the ones that kill. Who gave these clowns the authority to teach and knowledge me? I don't care about his philosophy. All these fake fantasies just soften me. I don't want this on my conscience, please get off of me. Cause they don't want me to know where I'm coming from. If they did, then I would know where I'm going, done. I need some real answers, they ain't showing one. Why do you think my heart's so cold and I'm going numb? Cause we don't care no more, it's past hurt. I don't wanna shed tears no more. Ready to die for the cause, I don't fear no war. This is how I'm living till I ain't here no more. That's the way I'm gonna die, I don't fear no law. Wanna tell me lies, I don't wanna hear no more. I'm ready to stand up, I don't stare no more. Till everything I'm against isn't here no more. It's so real.
Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the TMI podcast. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Make sure you got your notification bell set on all so you know when we next go live or we next upload. And I'm here with my guy, Chino. What you saying, my guy?
It's all good, TMR, man. Salutes to you, man. Salutes to the TMR family. Salute to everybody in the chat. Thank y'all for joining us. And I can't believe they're going to release Old Boy so early.
Is it true though, or is it nah? Because
I don't think so. Man. I don't think so. All they did was submit the paperwork. It's actually up to the courts. Actually.
Okay, so explain that then, because remember, I don't know. I have no information as of yet. Obviously, remember we saw it was we live or was we live? Right, we was live, I think, when
Mhm.
man first saw it. So obviously, obviously you definitely got more information than I do. So what?
Not
Let
really.
us
It's
know.
just a court proceeding. It's just how normally is, and he has to submit an appeal. And once he submit the appeal, it's up to the judges to decide if his point is taken or not. And if it's not, then he stay longer. If it's taken, then they'll make an adjustment. But it's always up to the court, and that's all it is. They just submitted paperwork to see if he will get released on their terms, on what they think is, his a violation on on their part.
Okay, so that decision obviously is not going to be made today, correct?
It could be. It was submitted today. It could be made at any time. That decision could be made anytime through the night. Um, they could have made the decision earlier, but then filed it because sometimes those are closed doors. There's no cameras and people not allowed in those type of appeals. So
Right.
it's according to how the paperwork was filed, what time, and it's so many variables about that, man. But we just got to be patient and see what they say after they submitted the paperwork.
Right.
It don't necessarily have to be today. It could be tomorrow, next Monday, next Tuesday. It's up to the court.
Right. Right. Because I have put a poll up in the chat. I said, do you want Diddy free? It's 2 votes right now, 50-50. Yes or no? Let us know, chat. Make sure you let us know.
I mean, but he went to jail for being a freak, man. He went to jail for being I don't know everything else is alleged. I see somebody spazzing out on Usher. Um, I don't know, man. Everything is just still speculation, but let's see how everything turns out, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's been going on with this whole case. So salute to Bert Flacco. Let's see what he's saying. Chat, make sure you double tap that screen to hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're new or if you're enjoying the content. Make sure you subscribe.
Diddy could be getting released from prison today if everything goes well. That's according to TMZ. TMZ posted, Diddy has a critical hearing right now, and there's a real shot he could walk free. And here's exactly why. Diddy's attorneys and the state is back in court today making oral arguments. Diddy's attorney is arguing that the sentence that Diddy got, A, is unconstitutional and just flat out wrong. They're claiming nobody in the history of what Diddy has gotten convicted of has gotten a sentence as harsh as Diddy got it. And when the judge gave the sentence to Diddy, the contributing factor to why they gave Diddy as long of a sentence that he got for violating the Mann Act is they said that Diddy forced these women into doing these things and coerced these women into doing these things. The problem with that is if Diddy forced them and coerced them into doing these things and violating the Mann Act, then that would be trafficking.
Salute to time. Salute to time.
And when the jury came back with their
salute to time, man. As always, man. Thank you again for joining us, man. TMR Podcast, a chat family. People that have money always comes out of prison. If this was me or you, we would be locked up like Tory Lanez.
Wow, that's a good point right there.
No, he does have a point, but I do have to say something against that, though. Because honestly and truthfully, a lot of people that get caught for crimes like that, we all wonder how they do no time, bro. They actually do no time. They do a little bit of time and come out. The only thing that's forever is that list that they have to submit to. They can't be by schools. They can't be around kids. It's certain things, but nah, they get the less amount of time, man, and that's the saddest part.
No, facts.
Deliberation, the jury says not guilty to force, not guilty to coercion. But they did find
only got a year.
Transporting, right? Like egg workers, okay?
No, I was answering time.
Who got a year?
No, Epstein. He didn't get that much time.
Oh, okay.
He didn't get that much time. They don't get no time.
Look how long it took them to put Epstein in prison, and they deleted that man in prison. He wasn't under no suicide watch. He wasn't even being watched. How suspicious that was. Yeah. How suspicious was that? Facts. Yeah. I'm telling you. Let's see. Diddy might come out this weekend. Chat, make sure you vote on the poll, chat. I have put a poll in the chat. Said, do you want Diddy free? Yes or no? Let me know, chat. Let me know.
His attorney is saying if the jury is saying that Diddy didn't force these women nor coerce these women, why would the judge then sentence Diddy to a sentence this long that's really unusual based on the factors that he believed that Diddy forced and coerced these women? If he forced and coerced them, it'll be trafficking. Now, a lot of people who is analyzing this and giving their opinion on this is saying Diddy has a really good argument to get out of jail early, maybe today.
There is a good chance that Diddy could be eating dinner at his home tonight, a free man. And that's because an appeals court is now hearing the review of the trial in which Diddy was convicted of violating the Mann Act. And his defense lawyers are making two arguments that could sway these judges and make them overturn the conviction. Let me explain both. So the first is that the defense says that the violation of the Mann Act is to prohibit the transportation of prostitutes across state lines, and it's typically for commercial purposes. That's where they've used it before. In this,
No, he's definitely losing weight. Fucker, definitely.
this case, the defense is saying this is nothing more than kinky porn. And kinky porn is protected by the First Amendment. Now, that may sound crazy, but I'm going to read you something from their brief.
It does.
To this. They say,
Good, buddy.
No, he said that was sound crazy. I said it does. It sounds crazy as hell.
freak-offs and hotel nights were highly choreographed kinky porn. And kinky porn is protected by the First Amendment. Now, that may sound crazy, but I'm going to read you something from their brief. Listen to this. They say, freak-offs and hotel nights were highly choreographed sexual performances involving the use of costumes, role play, and staged lighting, which were filmed so Combs and his girlfriends could watch this amateur pornography later. Pornography production and viewing of this sort is protected by the First Amendment and thus cannot constitutionally be prosecuted. So what they're saying is, look, if you want to use the Mann Act to prosecute people who are moving prostitutes across state lines for commercial transactions, which again is what it's usually used for, that's one thing. But here, there's no commercial purpose. Diddy lost money. He ended up paying the prostitutes. The films were never distributed to anybody. The defense is saying it was for his pleasure and the pleasure of people who may have been participating.
This reminds me of that meme where they said sex work is illegal until.
No, in other words, personal. It was personal things. It wasn't like something that was used like a selling, like a buy and sell type thing. Like I'll pay you to do this. I'll pay you to do that. A lot of this stuff is like everybody was, willingly. Nobody was forced to do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
You put a camera in front of it. So Diddy, I guess, was trying to find a loophole where he was filming these things so he could say this is, like this is corn and not, that. But I don't think that's going to hold up in court at all because these tapes were never released. This was for pure self-gratification. He never sold these tapes. He never distributed these tapes. So those are two arguments, is that. And then they're also arguing the sentence imposed is just outright egregious, according to them.
So they're saying, look, this is like any porn. It could be OnlyFans. It could be anything like that. And all of that is constitutionally protected and shouldn't be prosecuted. So that's one argument. And I got to say, it is an interesting argument. The prosecutors are saying it's meritless, but I wouldn't be so quick to judge it that way. So we don't know what the prosecution is going to say beyond that in court. But these judges, as I'm recording right now, the judges are hearing these arguments. The second thing they're arguing is that the sentence was totally out of whack, that Diddy got 50 months for violating the Mann Act. And typically, for Mann Act prosecutions, the average is around 15 months. And what the defense is saying is that the trial judge in this case considered all sorts of evidence that he shouldn't have, that the judge, even though Diddy was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking, and there was a lot of evidence presented about coercion and force, and the Cassie video was introduced into evidence. The defense is saying none of that should be considered because the Mann Act has nothing to do with that. But they're saying the judge's sentence was colored by all of those things, and the judge threw the book at Diddy when the judge should have just looked at the Mann Act violation and then sentenced appropriately. They're saying the appropriate sentence should have been around 15 months. Well, guess what? Diddy has already served 19 months. So if either of those arguments fly, if the appellate court believes that this is constitutionally protected porn, or if the appellate court believes that the sentence was out of whack and 15 months is more appropriate, either one of those, Diddy is a free man. So the oral argument, as I said, is going on right now. Typically, and I'm sure it's going to happen in this case, the judges are not going to rule from the bench. That just never happens. So they will meet and confer, as they say, and write an opinion. But sooner rather than later, if the appellate court buys what Diddy is trying to sell, he could be a free man relatively soon.
We got transcripts of the oral argument that was done in court today, so we can start off.
Wow, transcripts, yeah, not playing. Appreciate everyone in the building, chat. Make sure you double tap that screen to hit the like button. I see we got 29 votes. Chat, make sure you vote on the poll if you haven't already. The question is, do you want Diddy free? Yes or no, chat? I see we got 29 votes, 66% to 34% in favor of we wanting Diddy free. So make sure you double tap that screen, chat.
Yeah, man. Also subscribe, man. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing to subscribe.
Right here, right? So the judge says, how are you saying Judge S erred on this? Are you saying he had to do more than acknowledge the acquittal? Shapiro says, that's just make weight. Now, make weight means that's just filler, is irrelevant. Like the acquittal conduct should serve no purpose in Diddy actual sentence. Judge Nardini says that's disparaging. Shapiro says that's not what I mean. I like to move on. Judge Nardini says, what about the two victims who participated? If I cause someone to commit a crime, I am guilty of a crime. Section 2 is not the same as Section 371. Shapiro says, yes, this court has to review the district court's actual findings. Nardini says the jury is the finder of fact. Shapiro says the jury asked for Cassandra Ventura, which is Cassie, testimony on this, and we know that the jury rejected the notion that there was coercion. Judge Nardini says, but you argue Combs did not intend under Mann Act. Judge Nardini says, you are implying that the jury disbelieved everything Ventura says. But what are you really arguing is that the government was mixing and matching, right? Shapiro says, acquitted conduct can only be used if it is also convicted conduct. Judge Nardini says he arranged for escorts to travel to the hotel.
Salute.
What happened there was what he intended. It wasn't just for an attractive scene, and act was just something that happened, but he showed the video. It showed his intent. Shapiro says that's not enough. The judge says, was the RICO evidence presented to the jury to convict on the Mann Act? Shapiro says yes. Judge says, are you arguing that his acquitted conduct, coercion, fraud cannot be considered in sentencing at all? Shapiro says they are not even relevant. Nardini says, well, your brief caricatures the district court use of the acquitted conduct. Nardani also says at trial, the defense argued that he never intended that the specified conduct occurred after state lines were crossed. But on a plane, he showed a woman a video of prior incidents where it happened. That's proof. Shapiro says, our defense focused on coercion. The judge says, the mere fact that you were acquitted doesn't take it off the table insofar that the conduct is also convicted conduct. That can't be. Shapiro says, there are going to be cases closer than this one. I sat through this trial for 8 weeks. They focused on RICO. Judge says the Mann Act was a sideshow. Now, this is like different judges, by the way. Judge Baker and Nardani are the two judges so far. So they're questioning them. Judge Baker says the Mann Act was a sideshow, but why shouldn't we just hold the government to what they argue? Shapiro says we should. Many people in America question whether it is constitutional to allow acquitted conduct to drive a sentence. The judge then says, let's take the violence off the table, but we have findings of physically pressured and drugging them. Shapiro says this is an upward variance. Baker says the guidelines are just that, only guidelines. 2 women were plied with drugs. 1 became an addict. Shapiro says this was the highest sentence for any person in this criminal history category. Our principal argument is that the term victim should be interpreted with its plain meaning. Judge says, thank you, stick around for a rebuttal. Now, I'll be real. So far, it was looking really shaky for Diddy's defense. Now, the state came and the judges were equally, I guess, as pushy-backy on the state as well. So it looks like their job is to kind of like challenge the argument and then hear both sides. So it's unclear, man. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I do think it's kind of effed up if they acquitted him of the conduct, but yet you use the conduct to give him more time, right? I do think that's pretty effed up. But I'm not a legal expert. I don't know what's going to happen today.
Then they bring up a case that they're citing and everything, and it's Vaughn and Johnson, which is in her 100-page brief. But basically, the judge wanted to go into the fact that, and he read from Judge Subramanian's the transcript when he was going through the sentencing, saying, he did consider some overlapping conduct, and that should be allowed, overlapping conduct. So there's a difference here between acquitted conduct and overlapping conduct. And, at the heart of it as well, I'll just sort of skip around a little bit. The government, Christy Slavic, when she got up there, she said, this isn't actually acquitted conduct. This is admitted conduct. We're talking about a guy who said he admitted to, giving drugs to these women, which I guess would be coercion, plying them with drugs was the term used, and beating them, whatever. And then Shapiro said, no, that's not actually admitted conduct. That's not what happened. He never admitted to, quote, plying them with drugs. What he admitted to was, domestic violence. And it was Judge Baker who was sort of trying to lay it out for Shapiro, saying, okay, so what you're saying is Judge Subramanian, when he was sentencing Mr. Combs, he was sort of mixing and matching some of the acquitted conduct under some of these elements. And she said, yes, that's what he was doing. So if he were to sentence Combs on, a coercion element, or because of coercion, like that should not be allowed because he was acquitted of coercion under different predicate acts. So they bring up the Cannes Film Festival travel, which is when, and this was Nardini who brought this up. They seem to be kind of stuck on this for a minute.
From everything I've seen and read, I don't think it looks too good for Diddy, man. Like, these judges, they didn't really seem too receptive to what Diddy lawyers were saying. Now, they did offer pushback as well to the state, so maybe that's good news for Diddy. I don't know, right? I don't think they're going to let Diddy just absolutely walk free today. I think best case scenario, they would probably, I don't know, give Diddy, maybe, I don't know, man. Probably what? Diddy did 2 years already, plus the 19 months he's been in jail for. I don't know. Probably, Diddy got arrested in 2024, right? So he's been in jail for 19 months total. So I don't know. Maybe Diddy get reduced to like, let's say 24 months and he gets out in 6 months. Maybe that's it. But I don't know, man. Y'all let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? Is it looking hopeful for Diddy? Do you think Diddy will beat these charges? Let me know, okay? And if you're still watching, well, not beat the charges, but do you think the judges will reduce Diddy's sentence? Let me know, okay? And if you're still watching this video and you want to watch another good video, click on this video here to find out how Dr. Umar Johnson.
He came in saying, G, you.
Yes, sir. Salute. Appreciate you joining.
After that documentary, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Syra, how you doing, man? Why do we care? He wasn't found liable to all the memes, but Trump has. That's true. That's true.
That's a good point right there.
But they keep covering it up.
You see what I mean? It's nasty work. Nasty work, right? So allegedly, Diddy's appeal allegedly was a mess. Allegedly. So we're gonna see how it was a mess, and we will be the judge of that. You know what I mean? So I don't care, but if he said, yeah, the system is nasty work. Yeah, they say I want to see Trump in jail. Yep. Yeah, let's talk about it. That's what I'm saying. Let's talk about it.
All of them, every one of them that was covering up.
Yeah.
Pam Bundy, every one of them should. Every one of them. Catch Patel, everyone.
Facts.
Absolute mess. The judge was sighing, interrupting Alexander Shapiro multiple times, Diddy's lawyer. They were arguing back and forth. It was a very long argument. Diddy was not present himself, but some articles are saying that Diddy could be getting out of prison tonight, but I definitely don't think that that is the case. Hey guys, it's Rob Morali. Hopefully you guys are all doing well today. Daily and consistent content. Let's get straight into this video. Diddy's lawyers, guys, they were getting whacked left and right multiple times, and whoever this judge was, I'm here for it because he seemed to be locked and loaded for this case. And there were multiple times where he was using examples of Diddy's behavior. One of them of Diddy on a plane with Cassie, showing Cassie videos of whatever she was doing, and him basically hanging that over her head as leverage to say that, you know, this is what you're doing, taunting. So the judge reminding Diddy's lawyers of this, I think, was fantastic. Diddy's lawyer.
Tag in, Bernie.
CTM, that's what this all boils down to, is Cassie. Is she the one she's the one that's in the background saying, please don't let him out, please don't let him out, playing that victim card when she was obviously, you know, of course she's with her new husband, that she have to play like she was a victim. But at the end of the day, for a lot of this, she was with it.
Yeah, man. No, she was with it, man. She was with it. Yeah, she was with it. No matter how she wants to sugarcoat it, we know you was with it. You mean, for some of the facts that's out there in black and white, we know you was with it. Appreciate everyone that's voted on the poll. I see we got 62 votes now. 58% of you guys saying you do want to see Diddy free.
She even said herself verbatim out of her own words, guys, that she's getting a little lost. How are you getting a little lost as far as I'm concerned? I don't know why there are people thinking that he will get out of prison tonight, because the general consensus of that argument, if you hear it in full, is that the judge was whacking Diddy's lawyers continuously, interrupting, correcting, saying that this doesn't make any sense. He said many times that Judge Arun did a great job with, you know, whatever he did during the entire time of the trial. I just don't think that Diddy is getting out of jail tonight. If he does, I will be shocked. I will go live tonight if it was announced that he's getting out of jail tonight. The results might even come out tomorrow. There might be an extended break as far as I'm concerned, but multiple things were mentioned indeed. They also mentioned a hotel night, which is another term for the freak-offs, guys, that are basically going on in which Diddy enjoyed with Jane, and this wasn't connected to any threat. The lawyers shared their hope for an expedited ruling on the part of the judges, but that clearly is unclear. But what is clear is that Diddy is pressing his lawyers massively. Diddy could be a free man today after his lawyers appear before a federal appeals court and argue his freak-offs was simply not a violation of law, but rather just corn, and that it was just kinky, and that it is protected under the US Constitution. Diddy was convicted of the Mann Act, as we all know, but I want to remind you guys. But Diddy claims through his lawyers that the Mann Act here doesn't apply because the freak-offs and hotel nights were highly choreographed performances involving the use of costumes, role play, and stage lighting, which were filmed so Diddy and his girlfriends could watch the amateur corn later. Corn production and viewing of this sort is protected by the First Amendment and thus cannot constitutionally be prosecuted. What are you talking about? Stage lighting? You didn't have lights all over as you were doing whatever you were doing with these escorts when you had to hire them to do things to Cassie. And like, this wasn't the plan where, like, why is Diddy talking about, like, he had a whole corn studio? This clearly wasn't the case, that you had cameras all around filming and that you all agreed, signed contracts and were ready to read the scripts and do the role play and that it's just corn. You're trying to mask it as corn so that that is protected under the US Constitution, but that is not what this is. Per the words of Jane and Cassie throughout the trial, they clearly were not enjoying what these freak-offs were, did not want to be a part of it, and they were part of it because of Diddy's instructions. It wasn't an agreement that they were all coming together to build a corn studio so that they can all make corn together and, you know, get their cuts agreeably. That is not what this is. And I feel like they have changed the narrative completely because it is desperate from Diddy's side. But Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's lawyer, she did an awful job, in my opinion. Didn't come as prepared. The judge was interrupting and whacking, as I said. The prosecutors, guys, are calling these claims completely meritless. But Diddy's legal team is also arguing that this 15-month sentence is completely out of line with sentencing guidelines. And they say that he should have actually deserved 15 months. Diddy has served 19 so far, so technically he would have been free by now if he got, according to Diddy's lawyers. The defense say the judge considered evidence connected to the more serious charges, racketeering as well, and trafficking, of which Diddy was acquitted of. In other words, any evidence of force or coercion, so say the defense, was out of bounds for the judge to consider, and therefore Arun was wrong for doing that, and this also includes the Cassie video. The oral arguments went back and forth. Again, Diddy was not present. It's unclear when the court is going to hand down this ruling because I'm not sure why. But the judge himself said that, you know, this is a very difficult case. These were his own words. And they can easily find, guys, the appeal judge can easily find that Arun's consideration of fraud coercion was allowed under the sentencing guideline because the conduct relates to the transportation convictions. Or they can completely reject the guideline completely and say acquitted conduct can still be considered. That's what the appeal judge can say, which means that it won't go into Diddy's effect. Even if they say fraud or coercion shouldn't have been considered, Diddy's sentencing was only 50 months anyways, and the judge rejected many other conduct considerations as well. This is what I don't understand from Diddy's lawyers. Diddy only got 4 years. He was facing life. So the fact that Judge Arun even gave him 4 years is a massive consideration when it comes to this appeal, that he gave him not as many years as everybody expected, as Diddy expected. And so therefore, what are we doing here? The man's going to be out in 2 years as it is, or probably next year per good behavior. So Diddy is fighting for this expedition. Not only after that, but once the appeal, arguments ended, the oral arguments, you then have Diddy's lawyers are basically saying, Judge, we need an expedition. We need, bro, stop pressuring the judge 24/7. You got your expedited trial. You got your expedited appeal. You will get your expedited answer in good time. I don't know why Diddy's lawyers are pushing continuously. We know Diddy is desperate to get out, but clearly he's not going anywhere as of right now.
You see, that's easy. That's easy for him to say. If he was the one behind bars, he'll be pushing the issues too. You want to get home immediately.
Facts. How can a bloke? That's mad, isn't it? For a blogger to say that, isn't it? About how does one keep pushing it? What do you want him to do? Not push it?
You only got 2 more years. What? Who want to do the 2 more years? What is wrong with this dude?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could tell he's never been before. Never been.
A lot of other creators online, from what I'm seeing, and a lot of other people are tweeting, basically who watched this, listen to it because, it was audio, was that Diddy's lawyers were getting whacked. That is the general consensus of this appeal. His lawyers did not do a good job. I'm quite shocked because listening to it and hearing it, I was in the gym and I just had this audio and I was just like making faces thinking, what? Diddy, your lawyers are getting packed up and you prepared for this for a very long time. Your lawyers had enough time to know that this appeal was expedited. Why couldn't you have done better? How can the lawyers say that we are getting a little lost? Like, how can you even say that to the judge? And you think that this man is suddenly going to be getting out tonight? Immediately after the 19 months that he served, he's getting out tonight. TMZ seems to think that he's getting out tonight, but we know that TMZ like to be up Diddy's arse sometimes, and other times they like to drag him. They like to play both sides of the fence against Diddy because that's where they make the most money, when they're playing both sides of the fence. And so they are reporting that he seems to be, getting out tonight. They have a good argument, but that's not how the appeal went to me as somebody who listened to it. I felt like Diddy's lawyers simply didn't do a good job. Shapiro was stumbling on her words, going back and forth, trying to, make things clearer for the judge. But the judge was like, well, no, things are already clear to me. And I've already made that point. The judge was telling off Shapiro for regurgitating certain things as well. It just didn't seem like it was organized. Diddy and his lawyers, guys, are literally asking for the Second Circuit to toss the prostitution conviction over a sentencing misstep. To say that it's a sentencing misstep, means that you're coming literally for Arun and saying that he's done a very bad job. That they improperly applied a coercion enhancement to his sentencing based on acquitted conduct, which they say runs afoul of recent guidance by the U.S. Sentencing Commission. The jury refused to authorize any punishment for other charges, Diddy wrote in a subsequent appeals filing. The jury only authorized punishment for prostitution. It never authorized a sentence 4 times the typical sentence for that crime, but the district court imposed one anyway. It ignored the Sentencing Commission's decision to prohibit the pernicious practice of acquitted conduct sentencing. That is basically, the main body of the oral arguments that Diddy's lawyers were basically fighting for. And this is going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen tonight. We know that U.S. Attorney Chrissy Slavic for the defense argued on Thursday that Arun had judiciously weighed the acquitted conduct in the context of the offense, therefore giving a 50-month prison sentence instead. But of course, Diddy's lawyers are saying that this is far more than basically what is deserved. I don't think Diddy's going to get I don't think he's going to be free tonight. If he's going to be free tonight, I'm going live. We're all going to be there. We're all going to talk about it, and I want to be pissed. But I don't see that to be the reason. But of course, Diddy is on the.
When you say pissed, you better talk about drunk. Why would you be pissed for if he gets out? What type of time is he on?
He's on a lot of hate right now.
What type of time is he on?
Edge to find out what's going to happen. Let me know your thoughts are, guys, when it comes to this video. Do subscribe to the channel, comment down below, give this video a thumbs.
He is a madman, yo. A madman.
That's crazy. And then what he said about TMZ only stated what points they were fighting. I mean, at the end of the day, we can state what, but to go in there and argue the points is 2 different things. And that's what they have to do. The explanation, of course, was going to be tough for them to explain, especially after what he was already facing. It's kind of correct that, he got 4 years from what he was facing.
Right.
I mean, but I still don't wish jail for no man. I really think Cassie was definitely disgruntled. I think she was definitely scorned from what transpired with their relationship. And things like that. I think she played a part in a lot of the major stuff, but now because she's scorned, it's a whole nother story. Just my take.
No, I definitely agree with it, though. Definitely agree with it. If Diddy's in jail, Cassie should be in jail. Yeah. If Diddy's in jail, Cassie should be too. But you see it there? It's not equal rights in this world. See how they lock up the man, but they didn't lock up the girl. You see how they want to crucify the man for doing what Diddy done, apart from obviously putting hands on her. I just mean the whole sexual stuff. But then when the female is accused of the same thing, you see it there? Yeah, looked at different.
What's so crazy, the husband, her new husband, he was there in court listening to all this stuff, and you know, he got up out the courtroom and walked right out, man. He was crying and all that, man. Just hearing it. Of course, she has to tell him, "Yo, I was forced. I was forced.
She's a demon.
I was forced. She got to clean her part of it." I mean, the beat up, the what happened in the hotel, I would never agree with.
Yeah.
I don't support that. I don't do that. But when it comes to this other stuff, I think she was definitely aware and on point and well involved into everything, because she was picking and choosing individuals too.
Right.
So, you know, she's not no angel in this, but she still have to stay faced with her husband and everybody else, like playing victim.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cassie got away with it. She got away with it, but she may not get away with it. Let's see what this little documentary saying. It may play all, may not play all, but let's just see a few minutes of it and let's see what it's saying. Allegedly, this is one. Allegedly, this is the documentary that 50 allegedly put together. But you know what the internet's like. They would
Fed Smoker is Puffy being released. We're not sure. Arguably, they saying that he's lost his that he may not be being released because of the points that how they argued it. I didn't see nothing wrong with the 2 points that they had, but it's how you go in there and argue it. And they saying that they went in there and didn't do a good job. I don't know if they milking Diddy for his paper or what, but I don't know. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days. Fed Smoker.
That's definitely a part of it, you know. Them milking Diddy. I mean, for their bread, of course.
Absolutely, they got to keep stringing them along. We can help you, and then go in there and don't help the man.
You can't continue to keep hurting people and nothing ever happens.
Everything in life, you're going to have people that are bad and people that are good. You have to choose your side.
Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean Combs, all of these reincarnations, all those name changes are attached to really bad deeds.
You know, God told me to do nothing. So people do understand you're doing something. Other people that need to do something, because this is ridiculous. Y'all watching us watching this shit. You feel me? So he wants me to do nothing and to figure out whatever.
I know you, Puff. I know you hide things well. I know you bury things well. I know you lie well.
Send it to us. That's why God telling me not to do nothing. Y'all do it. Y'all see it. Y'all watch this shit.
You didn't think I would ever get to the point of telling people what you've done.
I'm not really supposed to be doing that.
Put us in a room with people who don't know. And he's the most powerful man.
I want to fight for, just and not guilty. I want to have a life to be able to live. It's really going to be hard for me to take more hits than I take it.
We need the core theme to be, you didn't do anything wrong. We're losing sight of the big picture, man. It's the middle of September and there's still no indictment.
Bro, then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to.
Bossman, salute. It's a possibility he could be getting out today. It's a possibility. So we have to wait and see.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Constantly be pushing that, Mark.
When you're a leader in that way, it's admirable until you get to the point where you want to control everyone around you. He got to that point.
It's like Scarface, the movie. I want the world and everything that's in it. But you got everything.
Hey, yo, New York, we did it! Harlem, we did it, Mount Vernon, we did it!
Nobody's gonna be bigger than me.
Sean is the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. We'll never see a Sean in my lifetime again, ever.
It was like the more money he got, the more power he got, the more power he got, the more money he got. And he always felt like money can get him out of everything.
I do feel it's important that we let the public know from the juror standpoint, just kind of how we reach the verdict. It's not everything that the media has put it out to be.
You want to put the stuff in my fanny pack, King?
Night, Jay. Salute, my guy. Yeah, free Diddy. Facts.
He's creating a narrative always. He is the best storyteller in hip hop. He thinks he's Black Superman. I can do what I want.
You can't go on for long in life doing the things that he was doing before something eventually happens. You can't continue to keep hurting people and nothing ever happens. It's just a matter of time.
I was dazzled by his ideas and his unique talent. But he was a very different Sean Combs back then. Sean was 19 when he dropped out of Howard University. He wanted to be in the flashy, swaggy music industry. He started off dancing, wanting to be in videos, wanting to be a pop culture mover and shaker at a time where things were changing.
The late 80s, it was fantastic.
There were a lot of independent labels that gave birth to hip hop in the way that we know it today. Heavy D was the biggest rapper signed to Uptown. We called him the official mayor, and his influence reached all the young people in the neighborhood, including the young Sean Combs, who was at Mount St. Michael High School, a Catholic private school. He would knock on Heavy D's door every day.
The only entrance into hip hop at that point was Andre Harrell and Russell Simmons. Into the corporate hip hop world, into the money.
Sean had impressed Andre enough to give him an internship, and that was the beginning. He had the Gumby, and he looked like a scholastic dweeb,
but Sean was so determined. Andre Harrell, Heavy D, Al B. Shaw, they had all the money and all the power, and I was like, I don't know what they did, but that's what I want to do. Sean grew up with the illusion of what masculinity looks like. My first encounter with Sean, I remember it like yesterday. My family, we rented the first floor of Sean's house. I was my mom and dad's only child. So now Sean has somebody to brother up with. We experienced a lot of firsts together.
I didn't know much about him. I know that he had a big ego. I met him around 89, 90. My job was to promote music videos. And Puffy, he was always doing the party promotions, so he's always like handing out the flyer.
They were the most successful parties at that time, but they were all about promoting himself.
I went to a party for a good friend. It was getting very late. Puffy is like, oh, you know, I'm having an after party at Andre Harrell's house. Puffy is like very polite, you know, and thanking me for helping him. And he asked me, oh, wow, I just got this call, you know, this girl backed out of this music video, you know, can you do it? And I was like, I don't do music videos. And I needed a ride back to Manhattan. So I went along, and I never forget, I had the same clothes on that I had from the night before. The music video was called Straight from the Soul by Finesse and Sinquist. The whole premise was for me to jump out the car and go with these girls and get away from the pimp guy.
Was there ever a time that Sean Combs assaulted you?
Yes. Someone called me up and told me that, he said, you know, he has, you know, video. And I was like, what? I approached a lot of people for help. I got things like, what do you want me to do about it? To, if I help you, I can't get into his parties. I avoided him for a very long time. I ran into him one day. He came to me. He got on his knees and swore he did not do this thing to me and denied it.
And that is the very last time I talked to him.
If you think you know the whole story, you're wrong. We are going episode by episode through The Reckoning, and the timeline of these revelations is actually terrifying. I'm showing you the clips, the reactions, and the moment the case turned upside down. Here is the full season breakdown. Only 2 months after Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to 50 months in prison, Netflix dropped what many are calling the most explosive celebrity expose of the decade. Sean Combs, The Reckoning, directed by Alexandria Stapleton and executive produced by 50 Cent. This 4-part docuseries isn't just another music biography. It's a full-blown autopsy of a fallen empire. The first episode opens not with a scandal, but with a dream. Grainy archival footage of a young Sean Combs hustling through the halls of Uptown Records, wide-eyed and ambitious. It's the story of a kid from Harlem with charisma sharp enough to bend the room. By the early 90s, he had built Bad Boy Records, the label that redefined hip-hop's glossy era and made him a mogul before 30. But before the fame, there was a tragedy that foreshadowed everything to come. The episode revisits the 1991 City College Stampede, a charity basketball event organized by a 21-year-old Combs. When 5,000 people rushed the doors, chaos erupted. 9 fans were crushed to death.
I'm 19 and I always like seeing people entertained. And I thought, over the holidays, just wanted to throw a celebrity basketball game in Harlem.
I was at the game. I was on the floor. All of us was there. Every rapper in New York, right? Your MTV Raps came.
I'm at City College in the heart of New York City for the Puff Daddy Heavy D first all-time celebrity all-star classic.
That was one of the biggest basketball games. If that would have turned out correctly, it would have went down in history.
There's no more room, but everyone still wants to come.
We open up the doors, everybody starts flowing through, but then thousands more come.
Sean over-promoted, overhyped, and that led to a crowd.
The death toll from last week's stampede at a New York charity basketball game has risen to 9.
One of the unanswered questions remains: who's to blame for the stampede
that's a
that killed 9 people?
My dream for this evening.
That's something that's lived with him. People blame him for that for years. For years. I think he got sued or something for that same ordeal.
Wow.
Was to bring a positive program to my people, to people of my age, and to people in my community. Whatever must be done to ensure that this never, ever, ever happens again.
That's how he got super famous, was that game and those deaths. That's the beginning of Puff Daddy.
Brass that afforded Uptown its distribution money wanted Sean out.
There were no charges filed, but investigators quietly debated his culpability. The doc frames this as a turning point, the moment where ambition and recklessness first collided. From there, The Reckoning dives into Kirk Burroughs' disturbing recollection that following the stampede, a distraught Combs allegedly struck his own mother, Janice, in a fit of rage. The scene is gut-wrenching, not just because of the claim, but because of who it involves.
Kirk Burroughs' allegations claims that he firsthand saw Diddy slap his own mother, Janice Combs. Here's what he said.
He was holed up in a hotel on the east side, him and his mother. He didn't know what was going to happen. And I saw Janice question Sean, and I saw him put his hands on her, call her and slapped her.
Janice Combs has since publicly denied the allegation, calling it inaccurate and patently false.
According to reports, Janice Combs has addressed this. She said, I'm portrayed as an abusive parent. This is untrue. As I have stated previously, I was a single mother raising my son. I held 3 and even 4 jobs in an attempt to provide a comfortable upbringing and quality education for my child. I raised Sean with love and hard work, not abuse. The allegations that my son slapped me while we were conversing after the tragic City College event are inaccurate and patently false.
Still, the inclusion sets a dark tone for the series, that the violence wasn't born in fame. but maybe always lived close to it. Then comes one of the most chilling testimonies in the episode. Joy Dickerson Neal's story. She claims that in 1989, long before Bad Boy Records, Combs drugged and sexually assaulted her, and that he recorded the act.
Was there ever a time that Sean Combs assaulted you?
Yes. Someone called me up and told me that
Oh, he's not released.
Yes.
He's not released.
Yeah.
No, he is not released. He's not released at all.
Yeah, there was there was a possibility, but he's not released yet. Hopefully, we get some more news within the next few days. Maybe even, like you said, overnight. In it, Gina, like you said, overnight, might even get something.
Yeah, I mean, they still haven't made their decision, but the way old boy was talking, like they looked at like fool explaining their points. However, it is what it is. It's up to the judge, man. It's up to the judge.
Let's see. Let me check this poll real quick. I see we got 120 votes on the poll. Appreciate everyone that's voted on the poll. Chat, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new, chat, or if you're enjoying the content.
Double tap that screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I see you got 128 votes. 54% is saying no, you don't want Diddy free. See how much has changed now?
Yep, it changed now.
Yeah.
People are talking.
Yeah.
The freak bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, what? I approached a lot of people for help. I got things like, what do you want me to do about it? To, if I help you, I can't get into his parties.
Showing the footage to others in the industry. Her mother's handwritten letter to Combs, pleading for him to stop showing the tape, is shown on screen. One of the doc's most haunting visual moments. Combs has denied the allegations, but the case remains open. What director Stapleton captures beautifully is the central paradox of Diddy's rise. Every success came with a shadow. The title Pain vs. Love isn't just about relationships. It's about the war between control and compassion, between the public image he built and the private chaos that followed. By the end of the episode, the tone shifts. We see Diddy in vintage footage, dancing, celebrating, untouchable. As narration warns, and just when the world started celebrating his genius, tragedy struck again. The music fades, the lights dim, and you realize this is not a story of success. It's the story of what happens when success turns into something darker. Key reaction to episode 1, Pain vs. Love, hit social media like an earthquake. Within hours of its premiere, #DiddyDoc and The Reckoning Netflix were trending across Twitter, X, TikTok, and Instagram, with fans describing the opening chapter as gut-wrenching, unsettling, and the moment Diddy's mask finally slipped. Clips of the City College Stampede segment flooded feeds, particularly the haunting slow-motion montage of chaos outside the gymnasium doors. Juxtaposed against Diddy's own archival footage from the same night, the emotional contrast struck a nerve. Viewers called it one of the darkest moments in music history that no one ever talked about.
My dream for this evening was to bring a positive program to my people, to people of my age, and to people in my community. Whatever must be done to ensure that this never, ever, ever happens again.
The #CityCollege91 gained over 25 million views on TikTok within 2 days. Some viewers were shocked to learn that no criminal charges were ever filed, with creators stitching the clip to point out how the tragedy seemed to mark the first time Combs walked away from devastation untouched. One viral tweet read, "That stampede wasn't an accident. It was the first red flag. He's been walking away from other people's pain since day one." Others focused on Kirk Burrowes's jaw-dropping claim that Combs allegedly hit his own mother following the incident, an allegation that left audiences divided. Even though Janice Combs publicly denied it as inaccurate and false, The moment sparked furious debate about when and where Diddy's alleged violent behavior truly began. On TikTok, fans dissected every frame of the interview. Reaction videos show users pausing, rewinding, gasping. One creator said, "You can literally feel everyone in that room stop breathing when Burroughs says that line. It's not even what he says, it's the way he says it." Meanwhile, true crime podcasters and pop culture YouTubers jumped on the story within hours. Many noted how meticulously the documentary frames early signs of control, volatility, and unchecked ego that later dominate Diddy's career. YouTube breakdowns titled "The Origins of the Bad Boy Monster" and "How the City College Stampede Defined Diddy" racked up millions of views overnight. But the most polarizing reaction came from longtime fans. Some defended him, arguing that young Puff was ambitious, not malicious. Others weren't as forgiving, saying, "We've been ignoring the red flags for decades. Every rumor we brushed off in the 2000s, it all started here." The episode's most chilling moment, Joy Dickerson Neal's assault story, triggered emotional responses across survivor communities online. Threads filled with messages of support for Joy and outrage at the industry's silence. The letter from her mother, shown in the episode, became a heartbreaking symbol of how power can bury truth for decades. Industry insiders quietly began to weigh in too. Former Uptown Records staffers, anonymous but verified on X, hinted that the doc barely scratched the surface of what really went down behind closed doors. Music journalists pointed out that this episode reframed Diddy's origin story not as a rags to riches triumph, but as the blueprint of unchecked power and impunity. As the dust settled, episode 1 left audiences shaken, not by the fame, but by the pattern. From the City College tragedy to early allegations of abuse, viewers began connecting dots that had been hiding in plain sight. One comment under Netflix's official trailer summed up the mood best. "This isn't a documentary. It's a confession from history we refuse to hear." And as episode 1 fades to black with that final line, just when the world started celebrating his genius, tragedy struck again. Social media couldn't stop asking one thing: if this was only the beginning, what horrors were still to come? If episode 1 laid the foundation for Diddy's rise, episode 2 rips open the world he built, exposing how fame, paranoia, and ego collided to form one of the darkest chapters in hip-hop history.
He's saying to himself, how do I get out of this? Maybe I can convince some witnesses that I'm not the guy who I am. Eventually, he's going to get to the point where he's going to ask himself, how did I get myself into this situation?
The episode opens with a slow montage. Diddy on red carpets, champagne in hand, surrounded by flashing cameras, set against the somber narration. In the 1990s, Sean Puffy Combs was untouchable, but power always demands a price. From there, the reckoning plunges into the bad boy versus death row era. The cultural battlefield that shaped and nearly destroyed an entire generation of hip-hop. Through archival clips and first-hand testimonies, the episode reconstructs how the tension between Combs' Bad Boy Records in New York and Suge Knight's Death Row Records in Los Angeles spiraled into something far more dangerous than music rivalry. Industry insiders recount how Diddy's polished suit and tie image contrasted sharply with Death Row's raw gangster energy. But behind the scenes, both labels were playing with fire, each trying to outshine the other through intimidation, money, and power moves. Suge Knight's infamous 1995 Source Awards moment, where he took shots at Diddy on live television, Come to Death Row, reappears here, remastered and chillingly narrated. Viewers watch as the crowd erupts in chaos, not realizing they were witnessing the spark that would ignite years of bloodshed. One former Bad Boy executive describes the atmosphere bluntly. It wasn't about who had the better artists anymore. It was about who owned the streets, and Puff wanted that throne. Midway through the episode, the tone shifts. former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who led the special task force investigating Tupac Shakur's 1996 murder, takes center stage. Sitting in a dimly lit room, Kading reveals a damning proffer testimony from Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a member of the Crips, who claimed the gang was offered $1 million to assassinate both Tupac and Suge Knight.
You said that Puffy called and said, "Was that us?" And you didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. Yeah, you're right.
Apparently, there was supposed to be $1 million that Zip was supposed to bring back, but he ended up keeping the money and buying a nightclub with it.
That's what the FBI said.
FBI said that.
Yeah.
You guys never got any money.
Never.
For anything.
Nothing.
Archival police documents flash on screen as Kading narrates. The name that came up repeatedly was Sean Combs. The episode freezes on Kading's face as he continues. We had testimony, money trails, and witness statements suggesting Combs put out the hit. But it never stuck. The question is, why? Combs, in previously unseen 2008 interview footage, denies every allegation, calling it garbage and a dangerous lie that could get people killed. But the show doesn't let the denial rest. Kirk Burrows, Diddy's former business partner, appears again, visibly shaken. The power games got too real, he says. There were moments when you could feel it. Something was about to break. It stopped being business. It became survival. Then comes the gut punch. Never before seen footage from the night the Notorious B.I.G. was shot in 1997. The grainy, chaotic footage captures SUV speeding away from the scene. March 9th, 1997, Los Angeles. The night hip-hop lost its brightest star. And Diddy lost his shield. Detective Kading alleges that Diddy made a series of questionable decisions leading up to that night. Most notably, canceling Biggie's scheduled European press tour, keeping him in Los Angeles despite mounting tensions. Kading says he Biggie to his death. Whether he knew it or not, he set up the perfect storm.
Sean signed Biggie in 1992. People didn't know we had to produce Biggie's album for Uptown. He was an Uptown artist. Sean was insanely jealous of Biggie and Pac's friendship.
You know, when I was around Big, I felt like he really loved me. I felt like if I left the room, he wasn't gonna say nothing bad, or somebody said something bad about me, he would defend that.
There's a yearning for him to have that complete.
That sounded a little bit weird.
Control. You're my artist. You're my best friend. I make.
That sounded a little bit weird. It was a little spooky there. Just
What sounds weird, my guy?
Nah, he was saying that he loved Biggie, but it's how he said it. If you rewind it, you're gonna be like, "What the hell?" Like he was really jealous of Tupac. Are you a grown ass man, though? Those are two men. How you gonna be jealous of Tupac and Biggie's relationship? Man, listen here.
He's scheduled European press tour, keeping him in Los Angeles despite mounting tensions. Kading says he Biggie to his death. Whether he knew it or not, he set up the perfect storm.
Sean signed Biggie in 1992. People didn't know we had to produce Biggie's album for Uptown. He was an Uptown artist. Sean was insanely jealous of Biggie and Pac's friendship.
You know, when I was around Big, I felt like he really loved me. I felt like if I left the room, he wasn't gonna say nothing bad, or somebody said something bad about me, he would defend that.
There's a yearning for him to have that complete, total control. You're my artist. You're my best friend. I make hits with you. Why do we need him in the picture?
Burrows adds another explosive claim that Diddy instructed him to alter Biggie's contract days before the shooting to favor Bad Boy Records. When Burrows refused, he says, "That was the end of my career. I was cut off overnight." The documentary juxtaposes this claim with statements from Wayne Barrow, who managed Biggie's estate. Barrow pushes back hard, saying, "That's false. Puff paid for the funeral, every cent. We reviewed every royalty statement. Not a dollar was taken from Biggie's estate." Netflix editors weave in court footage, newspaper headlines, and old interviews to paint a portrait of chaos and contradiction. one where loyalty and betrayal blurring to each other. Then comes the most debated revelation. Did Diddy make Biggie's estate pay for his own funeral? The doc airs Kirk Burroughs' shocking account that Diddy insisted on the biggest funeral New York has ever seen, but then wanted it recouped from Biggie's royalties. The claim ignites immediate outrage online. However, Wayne Barrow's rebuttal and Janice Wallace's statements offer a counterbalance, painting the story as a mix of truth, ego, and revisionism. One critic in the doc summarizes it best. When you control the narrative, you control the memory. And Diddy always controlled the narrative. Until now. By dawn, hashtag Tupac Truth had racked up tens of millions of mentions. Fans couldn't stop replaying Greg Kading's testimony. The moment he read aloud the proffer statement from Keefe D, alleging that Sean Combs offered $1 million for the deaths of Tupac and Suge Knight. The clip, just 47 seconds long, became the most shared segment of the entire series within 24 hours.
What made it a specific, like, hey, I'm serious, I want you guys to kill these guys? I mean,
he told me the greenback.
How's it go? How's the conversation go? I mean, okay, listen, I'll do it, but I need $500,000, or, you know, I got somebody who will do it, but I need $300,000. I mean, we need really specific details regarding that.
Yeah, we want $1 million.
You said you walked downstairs. Did he say, come meet me downstairs?
Yeah, he said, come on downstairs and talk to me.
Oh, he tells you, seriously, man, I need to get rid of these guys. And he's looking at you in the eyes and he's like scared.
Yeah.
In your opinion, the specific reason he asked you to come downstairs and talk to him was about that thing, not about liquor or anything. It was about that. Okay. You tell him we'll do it for $1 million, and he's like, okay, I'll do it for $1 million. He agrees. You shake on it or something like that.
He man, we'll wipe out quick. You know, it's nothing.
Who brought up the amount of $1 million?
He did.
Puffy did?
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me.
TikTok was flooded with reaction videos. Creators sitting in stunned silence, mouths covered, captions reading, "I wasn't ready for this." Others began connecting dots between the documentary's timeline and decades of rumors buried in old interviews. Conspiracy creators reignited long dormant theories. Some argued that the FBI buried evidence to protect high-profile names, while others speculated that Suge Knight and Diddy were pawns in a much bigger political game. Reddit threads exploded overnight, particularly in r/hip hop conspiracy, where users began cross-referencing LAPD documents shown in the series with previously leaked police reports. One top comment summarized the collective disbelief. "We grew up thinking this was an East versus West thing. Now it looks like it was all business. Bloody business." The re-examination of the East Coast-West Coast War reopened old wounds across the hip-hop community. Fans started debating the line between competition and blood feud, posting clips of the 1995 Source Awards alongside newer interviews from Suge Knight and old Bad Boy promos. YouTube exploded with explainers titled "What Diddy Didn't Want You to Know," "The Real Reason Pac and Biggie Died," and the $1 million hit, "Fact or Fiction." Hip-hop historians and podcasters rushed to respond, some defending Diddy's innocence, others admitting that after this episode, denial isn't so easy anymore. Even longtime collaborators like Faith Evans and Lil' Kim began trending, as viewers revisited old interviews for hidden clues or emotional tells. The internet was treating The Reckoning not as a documentary, but as a true crime investigation that had finally broken open. The documentary's claim that Diddy ushered Biggie to his death by canceling his Europe tour became one of the episode's most debated topics online. Fans dissected the timeline, comparing Biggie's last interviews with footage from the party and bullshit event. The funeral controversy, whether Diddy allegedly charged costs back to Biggie's estate, sparked moral outrage. Some viewers called it heartless beyond comprehension. Others, citing Wayne Barrow's rebuttal, insisted that rumors were twisting brief into spectacle. Regardless, the debate pushed the documentary into a new realm of virality. People weren't just talking about it, they were investigating it. By the time episode 3 begins, The Reckoning has already pulled back the curtain on Diddy's rise, his rivalries, and the shadow of violence that trailed him through the 1990s. But this chapter, titled Official Girl, shifts the focus from fame to power, from the music to the people he controlled behind closed doors. It's not about the empire anymore. It's about the women who survived it. The episode opens in silence. We see glittering images of Diddy's platinum years, glossy music videos, champagne parties, yachts, Ciroc ads, Met Gala entrances. His voice narrates from an old 2006 interview. "I'm a king. I don't chase love. Love chases me." Then the music cuts. The screen turns black. And a voice says, "But what if love wasn't what they were chasing?" From there, the illusion of glamour collapses. The first 10 minutes recap Diddy's dominance after Biggie's death. Bad Boys Rebirth, the Sean John fashion line, and chart-topping hits like I'll Be Missing You and I Need a Girl. On the surface, this was a man who had conquered grief and turned pain into an empire. But as the montage fades, the tone shifts to a stark confession from an anonymous industry insider. When Pac and Big died, Puff didn't slow down. He sped up. He thought he was untouchable. That's when the darkness got creative. We're then introduced to the 1999 New York nightclub shooting, where Natanya Rubin claims she was shot in the face during a melee involving Diddy and then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez.
That it was P. Diddy who shot you.
I was standing by the front door. I watched the entire thing out. I had no reason to believe that it would escalate to a shooting. It was just male machismo and bravado at first. A lot of pushing and shoving, raised voices, hands. But then I saw them reach in their waist and draw from their hip. And I knew. I instantly turned to my friends and told them, "Be careful, watch out." And when I turned back, I know, and I've said over and over, I've heard the voice of God said, "You are about to be hit. Calm down."
The episode plays chilling courtroom footage where Rubin describes chaos, fear, and the belief that Diddy's entourage tried to silence witnesses afterward. Diddy denied wrongdoing, but the incident marked another moment where violence shadowed his success. Next, the doc revisits a lesser-known but telling event, Diddy's 1999 attack on music executive Steven Stout, over a disagreement about how Diddy was portrayed in a Nas music video. Hate Me Now. Combs allegedly stormed Stout's office with bodyguards and beat him with a champagne bottle. Police reports confirmed that Diddy was arrested and later settled out of court.
And in their video, they had Puff and Nas on the cross. And I believe Puff pastor at the time, I don't know if it was Hezekiah Walker. He had a pastor that used to come by the studio quite often, I guess maybe give him some wisdom or something like that, talk to him. And so when that video came on, well, once we viewed the video, I believe the pastor said that it's wrong for him to make a mockery of Jesus on the cross. You're not supposed to do that. Basically what he was saying. So Puff didn't want that video to be aired for that simple fact. And they still aired the video. And that was Steve Stout's project there, I believe, with Nas or whatever was going on. And that's why they went and did that to Steve Stout.
The footage is paired with commentary from former Bad Boy employees who describe the moment as a snapshot of who he really was. One says, "That wasn't business. That was ego and fear. He wanted everyone to know he was still the alpha." Then the tone grows even darker. The episode shifts to the Making the Band era, featuring Aubrey O'Day, one of the few former artists to speak publicly and on camera about what she endured. O'Day recounts in tears how she was allegedly sexually harassed, manipulated, and later blacklisted after rejecting Diddy's advances.
You realize the burden that puts on my soul for the past year, the weight of that man and his I will never get up from under it.
She didn't take that information and say, and this happened to me. I think that what you see in the film is her struggling to digest, did this happen to me or not?
She claims he weaponized contracts and edited footage on Making the Band to portray her as difficult before firing her in retaliation. The doc reveals a newly unearthed affidavit from 2012, suggesting that O'Day may have been assaulted while unconscious during a private gathering in Miami. The document, never before seen publicly, appears on screen for only a few seconds. Her lawyer submitted this, but withdrew days later. The case never went forward. O'Day's voice trembles as she says, "People warned me. Don't cross him. Don't tell your story." But silence only protects power. From there, the reckoning builds toward its emotional and moral centerpiece, the Cassie Ventura story. The segment unfolds like a timeline. Her signing to Bad Boy in 2005, the grooming, the romantic involvement, and finally, the 2023 lawsuit that detonated the narrative around Diddy's public image.
In a bombshell lawsuit, Cassie alleges the Bad Boy Records music mogul, throughout their 10-year relationship, physically and sexually abused her.
I was no longer going to be embarrassed. I am not the only one. I'm going to stand up.
Using voiceovers, texts, and legal filings, the documentary reconstructs Cassie's claims. Years of manipulation, physical abuse, and sexual coercion, including allegations that Diddy hired a male sex worker named Clayton Howard for forced encounters. Former assistants recall Cassie's fear, saying she was treated like an employee and a possession. One chilling moment features an old behind-the-scenes clip from the Love album sessions, where Cassie looks visibly distant while Diddy jokes to the crew, "She's under contract, baby, ain't she?" The audience sits in uneasy silence. Cassie's attorney appears briefly, explaining how the lawsuit wasn't just about assault, it was about ownership. Diddy's legal team denied every allegation, calling it false, vindictive, and money-driven. But the doc contrasts his denial with footage of his rapid settlement within 24 hours, prompting one expert to ask, if it was all lies, why end it so fast? Next comes Lil Rod's story, one of the most disturbing segments in the entire series. A young producer who worked closely with Diddy on the Love album, Off the Grid. Rod claims he experienced drug-fueled manipulation, hidden surveillance, and intimidation tactics during months of studio isolation. He describes rooms with cameras in every corner, constant pressure to indulge in Diddy's parties, and the emotional toll of being gaslit into compliance. The documentary flashes excerpts from Rod's civil suit, filed in early 2024, which accuses Diddy of creating a culture of coercion inside his own home. Rod's interview ends with one chilling quote. He wasn't just recording music, he was recording everything. Just when the episode feels like it can't go any further, director Alexandria Stapleton drops a revelation that stuns both audiences and critics alike. Investigators allegedly discovered that Diddy filmed himself throughout multiple years. Personal footage, parties, sexual encounters, studio sessions, confrontations. Over 140 hours of raw, unreleased tapes. Some of the footage, reportedly seized during federal raids, has never been shown publicly.
Now y'all know that footage that where Diddy is behind the scenes talking to his lawyer and all of this stuff, and people like, damn, what was Diddy recording it? Well, Diddy was recording it because he thought he was about to beat the case. So he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tech.
A blurred out law enforcement source states, it's not what's on the tapes that matters. It's why he kept them. It's leverage, insurance, control. The screen cuts to black and text appears. All 140 hours remain in federal custody. None have been released. Moments later, a single Instagram post flashes on screen. 50 Cent's cryptic message posted just hours after the episode premiered. He filmed himself. That's all I'll say. The episode ends with a slow montage of mirrors. Diddy in luxury hotel rooms, fixing his cufflinks, smiling into reflections. The narration whispers, he documented everything. But in the end, the camera became his witness. As the credits roll, the screen fades to a grainy shot of a VHS tape labeled Private 2006, followed by a quiet hum of security footage. Then, silence. If episode 2 detonated the bomb, then episode 3 was the aftershock that no one could escape. The moment Official Girl dropped on Netflix, social media went from disbelief to collective outrage. Within hours, hashtags like Diddy tapes, hashtag Official Girl Netflix, and Cassie Truth dominated every major platform. Fans, journalists, and even former collaborators flooded timelines with a single chilling sentiment. This is beyond disturbing. It wasn't just the content, it was the tone. The previous episodes had been historical, analytical, and cautious. Episode 3, by contrast, felt like a confession tape from an industry that had been complicit for far too long. By sunrise, the clip of Lil Rod's chilling quote, "He wasn't just recording music, he was recording everything."
Saying that they was getting their ass taken, bro. Multiple times. That party? Owe you some money? I mean, you know. Yo, what the f is going on in this world, bro? Said I woke up with females in the bed. Then I woke up and Diddy was in the bed. What was Diddy doing in the bed, bro?
Had been shared over 40 million times across TikTok and X, formerly Twitter. Reaction videos showed creators visibly shaken, some in tears, others whispering, "How did this stay hidden for decades?" TikTok creators broke down the timeline of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit scene by scene, syncing old red carpet footage with new revelations. One viral video compared her forced smiles during interviews with Diddy to court statements about coercion. The caption read, "We thought she was living the dream. She was surviving it." Hashtag Cassie Ventura trended for 3 straight days, surpassing Free Britney's engagement during its peak. Survivors across social media began using the hashtag We Hear You Cassie, turning the episode into something larger than pop culture. It became a reckoning for silence in entertainment itself. For the first time, former collaborators and insiders began publicly reacting to the documentary. Some confirmed details that had long been whispered. Others vehemently denied them. Aubrey O'Day, whose segment had already stunned viewers, posted a follow-up video on Instagram Live. Tearfully, she said, "Watching it felt like being 23 again. I kept my mouth shut for years, thinking no one would believe me. Now the world sees why." Within hours, the post had over 1 million views and hundreds of supportive comments from fans and fellow artists. Meanwhile,
Yeah, now we're definitely gonna spin the block again. Obviously, once Diddy, you know what I mean? Once we get an update, then obviously we will spin the block again, you know what I mean? So appreciate everyone that pulled up. Before we get up out of here, Chino, any final words? All right, Joe. Yeah, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure you got your notification bell set on all so you know when we next go live or when we next upload. And we don't chase clout. It's strictly business we're about. Salute.